and welcome back. It's Lisa from Critters'n Ink Designs in Ontario, Canada. Today I'm going to show you a really cute birthday card that I made for my 2-year-old grandson this past week. And while it looks somewhat complicated, it isn't complicated at all. I just thought I'd quickly show you how to make this sweet, sweet card. And to do that, I'm going to be showcasing the Zany Zoo Stamp set. And I didn't bring my dies with me, but we're going to fussy cut out any of the elements that we need. And the dies cut out actually different parts of the designer series paper that are also part of this grouping. And this paper is called Zoo Crew, and it's just adorable. So you can see I've cut out a few pieces already from both three different sheets. And but look at how stinking cute these are. Oh my goodness. Little animals playing musical instruments. So cute. And then this one is all about vehicles. So you have an anteater on a unicycle, a crocodile on a bicycle, a bunny on a scooter. So cute. And then the backs are black and white. So we've got like a chevron, some little stars, and black on white polka dot. And here we have other animals doing homey kind of things like painting and knitting and cooking. So cute. And the back of this one is like a little ruffle. These are so cute. And then this is a repeat of the one we showed earlier. And here we have a bunch of dancing critters. And so different forms of ballet. So stinking cute. Oh my God. So cute. Oh, and the back of this one is just little dotty things. And then the last one is that the last one? Yeah. Is the great outdoors. So we've got a lion cooking marshmallows. We've got a skunk bird watching. I don't know what the heck that is. A badger maybe taking pictures, and a pig backpacking. So cute. And the back of this one is little flowers. So cute. So this is just the sweetest paper. And this is available as individual items. You can get just the stamps or just the dies, or you can bundle it and save 10%. Or you can buy the whole suite, which includes the paper and the stamps and dies. Just so adorable. Love it, love it. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using today. And then I also used, for my designer series paper, I just have little pieces of it left because I've used so much of it. And that is the backing of one of the Awash and Beauty, which is a retired paper. But let's see what was on the other side of it. So it was on the back of one of the florals. And it's just like a textured, just shades of green. Isn't that pretty? So we're using that as well for our designer series paper. So besides these 3 pieces, we're going to, so I have 3 pieces of the designer series paper that are 4 by 5 1/4. And my card base is a Granny Apple Green, and it is 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored it at 5 1/2. And for my mechanism to make my pop-up, I have a piece of Granny Apple Green that is 1 3/4 by 10, and I've scored it right down the middle at 7/8. And then I have another piece of Granny Apple Green that is 2 by 10, and I've scored it in half at 5, and then each side in half again at 2 1/2. And that gives us like a little accordion folded area. Okay. Then I also have on the inside for here a piece that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 of basic white. And I also have 4 pieces of the designer series paper that are 2 3/8 by 1 7/8. And I have 4 of those. And I have 4 of the basic white that are 1 3/4 by, oh no, I have 3, sorry, that are 1 3/4 by 2 1/4. And that's what we need to make this card. So the first thing we are going to do is I'm going to move this placemat, and I had to put this placemat down because I forgot to bring my big foam placemat that I use for stamping on. But this is very textured and it won't stamp well, so let me get rid of that. And I had to put it down because I have a big glare. There's a big skylight here where I'm taping in my daughter's kitchen while the kids are at daycare. So I'm going to put a couple of pieces of just paper underneath so that I have something that'll give it a little bit of give. So I've just got a stack of printer paper here just to give me some give on there. So let me grab some blocks. Now to create this background, I just took some of the leaves from the Tropical Leaf, which is part of the online exclusives. So these aren't in any printed paperwork of any kind. It's strictly online, and these will be available for a while. But again, any of the online products are only available while they're there. Once they're sold out, it's not likely that they're going to replace them. So I used the smaller of the leaves out of this set. And I also used, there's like, not sure what you call that, like the veins for the leaf. And I'm going to use that. And I'm using Granny Apple Green ink and Garden Green for those 2 units. So we can go ahead and start to stamp these. And we're going to do all 3 of them. So I basically did all 3. So I'm going to take, first of all, my Granny Apple Green. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to randomly stamp the leaves all over. People who aren't card makers are always amazed when you show them an interactive card like this. And they're like, oh my goodness, you made that? Like, well, yes, I did. Matter of fact. Okay, so we're going to do this to all 3. I'm really excited about the catalog coming live next week. And if you're in Canada and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd be more than happy to throw a catalog your way in the mail, or you're welcome to pick one up from my home if you live in southeastern Ontario. But anybody in Canada, I would love to be able to help. There, so we have these 3 done, and now I'm going to take my Garden Green and I'm going to fill in the veins part of the leaves. So there's our 3 backgrounds, and so we have those ready now. I'm going to place them on the inside of the card. So let me take my card base here. And I'm just going to center this inside the card. Boy, I can't believe how chilly it is today. Yesterday was chilly and wet, and today it's not raining, but it's not very nice out. It's not the kind of day you'd want to be out playing with your grandkids. There. Okay. Well, we might as well put the front one on while we're at it. While I was editing this, I decided that you probably didn't need the 3rd panel on the inside lower section because it's going to be covered up with this sentiment anyway. Okay, So there's our card base is ready to go. So next, let's create our mechanism. So this is 10 by 1 3/4, and I've scored it right down the center at 7/8, which is half of 1 3/4. So I'm going to just fold it and burnish it. Okay, so I've just grabbed my trimmer. And this is 10 inches long, so I'm going to score it at 5, which is half of 10, obviously. And then I'm going to mark 7/8 of an inch from each side. So there's 7/8 and 7/8. So I'm just making a little dent there. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm lining up my center score line with the 7/8 mark over here, which is right there. It's right in the glare, you can't see it. So there's the 1 inch mark, and there's the 7/8 mark. So I'm lining up my center score line with my 7/8, and then I'm just going to make a little mark here and a little mark on the bottom. And then I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to line up the top score line on the right and the bottom score line on the left into the scoring channel here. Okay, and you can adjust it if you need to. And then I'm just going to score that. Okay, then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. So I've got the top left score line and the bottom right score line lined up at the 7/8 inch mark, and I'm going to score right there. Make sure I'm lined up here. And so what you have is kind of a cross. You see that? Okay, so now we're going to fold them on all of the score lines. So we've done the middle one already, and we're doing the center one as well, and let's burnish that. And then we're also going to do the 2 crisscross ones. So let's fold it over. Now when you do this, you do want to do a little bit of manipulating here. So I want to line up this score line to this score line. So if you have to tweak it just a smidgen, do that, and then turn it over and do the same thing. So you want to line up the folded over score line with the long score line. So I'm going to just set that up, and then I'm just going to burnish that well. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So we're going to go ahead and fold it, and we're going to line up our score lines and just manipulate it a little bit if you have to. And check the back to make sure that that side is square too. So we just want that a little bit over like that. And I'm going to go ahead and use my bone folder just to reinforce that fold. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to fold it away from me and watch what happens. So I've got my 2 folded edges, and if you fold it and bring it together, this is what you get. Ta-da! So did you see what I did? I've got my piece here, and I'm going to fold it away from me, and then this creates our mechanism. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten that and just burnish everything down one more time, just to make sure that it's good and solid. So that's our mechanism. So we're going to put it into our card base. And what we want to do is you're going to lay the point just kissing the score line. You don't want to actually have it touching the score line. And you want to make sure that you have at least a 1/2 inch on the bottom here and have it centered so that both sides are pretty equal here. Now you could measure this if you wanted to. It's 5.5, so it'd be 2 3/4. Oh no, it's 4 1/4, so it'd be 2 1/8 would be the actual center. So I can make a little mark there if I want to, but I can eyeball it too. So it's 2 1/8 is the middle. So I'm going to lay this here. Now let me grab my liquid glue, and I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue, but you want to make sure that you have the whole triangle well glued. Okay, and then I'm centered and not quite touching the score line. And I'm just going to pull this down and adhere it and hold it for a second. Then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on just on the triangle. And don't have so much glue that when you press it down, it's going to ooze out. Okay, and now I'm going to close this down like this and just wait for a second. And this is our mechanism. There. Oh, so you can see I had way too much glue in here, so let me just clean that up. Okay, so you can see here's our mechanism now. So when you pull it open, there's the mechanism. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to, so this piece is 2 by 10, and I've scored it at 2.5, 5, and 7.5. And that gives us this accordion type W fold, okay? And so we can start decorating it with our designer series paper, but the first thing I want to do is I want to create a rounded edge on each of on each corner. Okay, so to round that, I want to use the detailed trio punch. This is a retired punch, but if you have it, or any other corner rounder will work just fine. So I'm going to do my 2 outside corners, and it will do 2 pieces of cardstock with ease. Okay, and I'm going to do all of the corners. Beautiful. And then I'm also going to round the corners of our cardstock that, or our designer series paper that is going to be on each of these little squares. Now this layer is optional. You barely can see it, but I just liked the finish that it gave. Oops, the finish that it gave on the card. So I decided to use it, but again, it's optional. So I'm doing 2 at a time here. And any corner rounder that you have will work just fine. I have certain punches that are on my retirement list or non-retirement list. So I have certain pieces that I don't want ever to retire. And I'm going, while I've got my punch here, I'm going to do the same thing with my 3 pieces of basic white because I want them to sit nicely in there as well. So go ahead and do these corners. I have certain punches and certain die sets that I will never retire from my crafty goodness department because they're kind of timeless. I have some word ones that I just love, and I'll keep them forever. So here's my 3 3/4 inch square, and I'm doing that as well. I just thought it, just to keep it consistent with the rest of the pieces. There, and here's our little garbage here. We'll just get rid of that. Okay, all right, so we can start putting this together. So we can go ahead and put our designer series paper onto our little folded pieces. It's just gonna sit right there. It's a lot of glue. Share the wealth here. The bottle's nearly empty, so it's just squirting out all over the place. Okay. All right. Okay, so here is our little accordion fold. And now to put this on here, I could wait until I'm finished decorating, but we'll go ahead and put this on here. Like this. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I should round these corners. And you know what? I'm going to. It'll just take a second. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop the corners of the mechanism into here and just round them. It's not going to affect how the mechanism works at all, but it's going to make it look better, I think. I guess ideally you want to do this before you glued it onto your card. And that's all right. Okay, so there's our mechanism. Make sure you put it on the right side, because you know. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and glue this onto here. So what I need to do is I want to make sure that the center of this piece is going to match the center of the mechanism. So I could eyeball it, I guess, but this is 2 inches, so I'm just going to quickly mark the 1 inch mark here. And I'm just going to make a little dent on each side with my bone folder, because I don't want it to be really obvious, but I do want to know where the middle is. So when you're gluing your mechanism onto your fold, you're going to put glue in the top right-hand corner and the bottom left-hand corner. If you put glue right across from here, like on both sides, it isn't going to work. So you need to have glue just here. And again, I was a little heavy-handed with that. As I said, it's the bottom of the bottle and it's a little squirrely. Okay, and I'll just put the rest over here. All right, so now I'm going to line up the center. With that center mark. And I've got the edges are together, the edge of the mechanism and the edge of my folded piece, because they're both 10 inches long. And then I'm going to come over to this side and I'm going to line up my little notch that I made with the center of the mechanism. And the 2 raw edges are equal. There we are. So I only have glue on the top on the right and the bottom half on the left. So watch what happens when we close this. Now watch, it's going to turn and settle. Isn't that the cutest stinking thing? Oh, love it. Okay, so now we're going to do the inside. Now the inside, let's see. Now these little critters were left over from an old paper pumpkin, and I happened to be going through, I was actually looking for leaves like this. And whenever I don't use an entire paper pumpkin, I always keep all my punch outs because things like this are just too cute to throw away. And I thought, well, okay, I'm going to put that on this card for my grandson because it is too cute. And then we used the happy birthday to you. For on here, I'm going to stamp in the garden green, happy birthday to you. And I'm gonna pop that kind of right in the middle. And then I'm just going to glue this little guy right on the bottom of the card here. But you could put, anything you wanted under here. You could, if it was for a little girl, you could put some flowers. But these, as I say, I just happened to have these left over from an old paper pumpkin and thought they were perfect. My grandson's only 2, but his whole life revolves around dinosaurs right now. Okay, so there's one of our little things. Now for the next two pieces of this white, I'm actually going to stamp some leaves on them. So let's get this over here. I'm going to grab the granny apple green and I'm going to stamp off the leaves because I don't want them heavy, like dark. I don't want them dark. So I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp it onto the paper. Okay, there's one. And now I'm going to do another one. So same thing, I'm going to stamp it off and just put leaves. Okay, and the same thing with the veins of the leaves. I'll stamp them off because I don't want it dark. Oh, forgot to stamp that one off. Oh well. There we are. Okay, so that's that for now. And I'm gonna keep out the granny apple green. And I'm just going to use my one of the new small blending brushes because I just want to have a little bit of color on the white. I don't want it to be like really white. So I'm just going to make that a little bit greener. So the reason I'm rubbing it off like this is so that I don't get a big smushy, like if you just did it like this, this is what you end up with. It's not pretty. So if you take off the majority of the ink, and I know it seems a little counterintuitive, but trust me, it works better. And then you just get a nicer blend all the way around. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is I want to put a juggling, I guess it's a koala bear from the paper. Let's just see. So what did I put on there? Okay, I need a juggling koala bear. So we'll just take him because he's closest to the corner. Now I could put this little dog too. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but I'm going to use the little koala bear because I'm making it the same as the other card. And as I said, there are dies for these, and I totally forgot to pack them, but that's okay. And then on this page, I'm going to grab the turtle and frog. And then on, let's see. And then on this page, I want one of the crocodiles on a bicycle. Go ahead and cut him out. Now, if I was at home, I would probably just throw this whole sheet right into my scan and cut and let the machine do the work. But I actually don't mind fussy cutting. I find it a little bit therapeutic. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly fussy cut these critters out. We took the grandkids to, I went with my daughter yesterday. We took the kids to see the Jurassic World in Mississauga. In Ontario, it's outside of Toronto. And it was pretty good, but the kids are 2 and 3. And let me just tell you, I thought the 3-year-old was gonna lose her marbles. She was terrified. So if you have a little one, I would suggest, it says it's for all ages. I don't think so. I think I wouldn't do it until they were a good 5 or 6 years old, because the dinosaurs in some cases are quite realistic and they get not really close to the audience, but close enough to scare the living crap out of a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. The little Aiden, who's just turned 2, was shaking so hard that my daughter was getting a little bit like, maybe we should just go. And Isla, the 3-year-old, had her arms wrapped around my legs so hard I could hardly move. She was just terrified. She didn't want me to pick her up because she didn't want to be close. But, and she sure didn't want me not to be right there. It was awful. I felt so bad for them. All right, so because this little koala bear is turquoise, I decided to use my Granny Apple Green markers to match him to the rest of the thing. So I'm going to cut color. I think I used, did I use dark green or light green? Let's see. On the other one. Let's try it with the light green. I can always go over it with the dark if I have to. No, I think light green's fine. So I'm just gonna color him green so that he matches. And yeah, it's a fabulous production. There's a lot of waiting, but we actually went a half an hour early, and our ticket was for 10:30, and I think we got there about, I don't know, 9:45 or 10:15, and we were able to just sail right in. And as we were there longer, the lines just kept getting bigger and bigger. Okay, so I'm just gonna color. Anything blue is going to get colored green. There, that's so cute. And then he's fine. Okay, so let's put this together now. So I've got my card. And I'm going to put the happy birthday to you right here. And I'm just going to center that right there. Then I'm going to put one of the leafy, That bottle's pretty well empty, I think. The leafy business. Here. And then I'll put the other leafy one over here. And I just put the juggling koala right just on the green. I didn't put a white background on him because I didn't want it to get lost. So I'm just gonna put the Stamp and Seal just kind of on the bottom 3/4 of him, because he just stands up just a little bit over the edge like that. And then on this one, I used my blends on the little turtle. I used my blends just to give him a little bit more color. So I've got my dark granny apple green. And I'm just gonna color my stripes here. And just in between on his shell. Like that. And then I'm going to use the light for his head. And his arms. So cute. Just blend that up a little bit. Oh my goodness, how cute. And my little frog is just fine the way he is. So I'm going to put my frog down here. And I'll pop my turtle up here. So cute. In there. So when you close it, it'll just close and twist like that. So now we still have to do our piece for here. So I'm going to take my leaves again and my 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And first I'll start with my granny apple green. And I just did some leaves kind of randomly up on the top. And then I'll take the garden green and do the stems. There. And then I took from an old, now I thought this was Celebration, but I don't think it was. It's called Hey Love, and it was from one of the mini catalogs, I think, from last year. And I used this dragon, who I just thought was stinking adorable. And I have no problem mixing and matching stamps from different sets, because you know what? You have them. You might as well use them. So I'm going to stamp him in Memento ink. When I first started stamping, and even right until maybe a year or two ago, if I was making a card, I would always use just the one stamp set from like on one project. I would use one stamp set instead of, you know, mixing and matching. Which really, when you think about it, is kind of silly because you have all these resources at your fingertips. And if you don't use them, what's the point of having them? So I kind of gave my head a shake and I started just using them. Okay, so I've got my dark granny apple green and I'm just going to outline his snout here. Like this. So cute. And I'll do a couple of his stripes in the dark as well. And his eyelids, I guess. And then I'll come in and I'll blend with the lighter one. Oh, I went over his tooth. Oh well. Now, if you're not used to using blends, what they do is they blend. And you want to use a water-based base ink. The black Memento is not an alcohol-based ink, because if I was using an alcohol-based ink such as StazOn, it would actually get dissolved by the alcohol in these markers. It would make things, the colors would bleed. There. So when I was looking for embellishments, what I found was this resin hearts embellishments. So I'm just going to grab one of these hearts and I'm going to put them on his hat because that's what's on his hat. So I'll put the resin little hearts in there. So, you know, go through your stash and see what you have. Doesn't have to be coordinating necessarily with the suite that you're using. It's whatever makes you happy. Use everything that you have. Oh, that's adorable. I have a little white one here. I'm just gonna pop a little white one here. So cute. And I think I could maybe put another leaf here. I think I'll do that. There we are. Okay. Okay, and this is going to go in the center of our card. And then this is where you would sign for it. And then that closes like this. Now on the front of our card, I've got my crocodile. And what I also wanted to use was I brought the Beautiful Shapes dies. And I'm going to use the circular one. And I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap granny apple green. And I'm going to run that through my mini die cutter. This is one of the reasons I love this little die cutter, is because I'm at my daughter's and I didn't have a lot of room to pack a whole bunch of stuff with me. Now these will be going on the online store next Tuesday, the little blue one. So if you're interested in having a collector's item, keep a lookout on the online store next week. We were able to buy ours early because we're demonstrators. That's one of the perks of being a demonstrator, is that you get to purchase things a whole month ahead of most other people. So, you know, if something like that interests you and you'd like to join Stampin' Up and join my team, the Critters and Creativity, feel free to get in touch with me at crittersandinc@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about the pros and cons of being a demonstrator. There's not a lot of cons. So yeah, just let me know. So one thing I'm going to do is I do have the Granny Apple Green here, and I'm going to take, I have a little bit of ink on my block here. So I'm just going to scoop it up with my brush. Might as well use it. And I'm just going to give some texture to my Granny Apple Green. Now it's not giving it a lot of color, but it is giving the embossed lines some texture. And it just gives it a little bit more personality. So, I don't know if you can see. Yeah. So that's going to go right on the front of my card. And I'm not putting anything on dimensionals because there's so much dimension on the inside of the card. This is definitely a card that you would want to hand deliver or be prepared to pay extra postage because it's very thick. Now, one thing I did do, but because I was hand delivering the card, I decided to put this little critter up on a wobbly. And I just get them on Amazon. I can put the link in my description below. I forgot to take your pick tool out of the... Okay, so I'm going to put that on the back of the crocodile. And we'll pop that right on the card here. So there's our little croc. And then for the sentiment, I used the Happy Birthday from Pansy Patch. And I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite happy birthdays. I use this a lot. I'm going to put a leaf on my, I just have a piece of scrap basic white here. And I'm going to pop a leaf here. And another one over here. And I'm just going to use the Granny Apple Green for the stems on this one. And I'm going to take my Happy Birthday and in the Granny Apple Green. No, you know what? I think I'm going to use the Garden Green. I think it needs to be a little darker. Not sure what I was thinking. So the Garden Green, I'm going to do the Happy Birthday in the Garden Green. Yeah, that's better. And then what I brought was my double oval punch. And I'm just going to punch the Happy Birthday out of the scalloped oval. I think the little oval is just too little. I'm going to do the scalloped oval because it just has so much more personality. All right, and again, I'm just going to take the brush and very lightly give it a little bit of green. I don't want it to melt into the background, but I also don't want it stark white either. So I just put a little bit. I'm just going to glue that directly onto the card. And just in the bottom corner here. So there's our card. Now I did bring these vellum leaves that I had found in my box of Crafty Goodness, but I really don't feel like I need them. So I didn't use them. Let's get this out of here. And so here's our card. Isn't that so cute? So cute. I just love these little guys. And there is a paper pumpkin that actually, if you're a paper pumpkin subscriber, you remember back, not 100% sure which month, I'll look it up. And there was a stamp for this little fellow as well. So you can, if you don't have the little bits of your paper pumpkin, you can recreate it by stamping it and coloring it. Isn't that cute? I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I just thought I'd quickly try and put this together because I just love the card and I thought you might enjoy it. Thanks for spending time with me. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned. As I said, the new catalog goes live next Tuesday, I think, on May the 2nd. And I will be going through the catalog a little bit and just to show you what's new. I can't wait. And if you would like a catalog again, and if you live in Canada, feel free to email me at critters'nink@gmail.com. Or on my blog, there is a request a catalog button. So if you wouldn't mind just filling out your name and address, I'll be happy to throw one in the mail for you. Thanks again. Bye for now. Have a great afternoon.